Hi, I'm Kat and today I have for you a true crime case. I'll also be doing my makeup at the same time, and today I don't have a word in Romanian to translate, but for today the wandering dog asked me to say the following. I, Vigo, the scourge of Carpathia, the sorrow of Moldavia, command you. This is the best I can do. Actually, Wandering Dog, I kept on practicing this and I'm sure it doesn't sound like the original. I think that the original one is the best. So, here is the original.
What?
I, Vigo, the scourge of Carpathia, the sorrow of Moldavia, command you.
Oh, command me, Lord!
On a mountain of skulls in the castle of pain, I sat on a throne of blood.
And I'm gonna try to say it again just for the fun of it. I, Vigo, the scourge of Carpathia, the sorrow of Moldavia, command you. Okay, that's me done with the acting. I'm sure it doesn't sound remotely as good as the original does. But anyway, let's get started. The mysterious disappearance of Anna Walshe, a devoted mother of three, on New Year's Day sent shockwaves through her family and community. Her sudden vanishing was out of character, and the fact that her employer, not her husband, reported her missing 3 days later only added to the eerie and suspicious circumstances surrounding her case. But as authorities delved deeper into the investigation, the case took a dark and sinister turn when a broken, blood-smeared knife was discovered in the family's basement. Could Anna's loving and devoted husband, who was highly regarded by her mother-in-law and her entire family, be involved in her mysterious disappearance? The question remains, I guess, is he behind this heinous act, and what happened to Anna? The disappearance of Anna Walshe, a 39-year-old ambitious and confident real estate executive, came as a shock to her friends and family. An immigrant from Serbia, Anna was known for her radiant spirit and drive in the competitive real estate industry. But on New Year's Day she vanished without a trace, leaving behind a trail of disturbing clues and a husband with a dark past. Anna worked in the hospitality industry before she became a standout in the competitive real estate business in Boston and Washington, D.C. Anna was the kind of person who would walk into a room full of energy, driven and always smiling. She was the devoted mother of three boys, aged 2, 4 and 6 years old, with her husband Brian. We don't know much about Anna's upbringing and childhood, apart that she was born in Belgrade, Serbia, and she's got her family there. On occasions, her mother would visit her in the US and would stay for extended periods of time. It seems that Anna has a close relationship with her mother and her sibling or siblings. It's not really clear how many siblings she has. Anna was working at Watley Hotel in Lenox when she met Brian in 2008 and they got married in 2015. In March of 2022, Anna accepted a position with the real estate firm of Tishman Speyer. This position came with a large increase in salary and excellent healthcare benefits for her family. However, this required Anna to work in Washington, D.C. for most of the time. So she sold their home in Cohasset and bought a home in Washington, D.C. with the money from the sale and also with the help from mortgage. At this time, Brian was on home confinement, and for any leave from the house, he would need the court's permission, but we'll get into more detail why. So apparently, because of this and also because of his mother's condition, Brian couldn't move with Anna in Washington. So instead, with the court's permission, Brian moved with his three sons in a rented house in Cohasset, rented by his mother. During the week, he was the sole caretaker for their kids and for his mother as well, who lived with them when Anna was out of town. Because of her own medical conditions, Brian's mom couldn't really help him with the kids, and Brian continued to take his mom to her medical appointments. Anna was last seen leaving their home on New Year's Day. Brian told police that he saw Anna around 4 or 5 a.m. on January the 1st. She had a flight booked for January the 3rd, but according to her husband, Anna was called to DC to handle some kind of work emergency. She was trying to catch a flight to Washington, and according to her husband, she used the rideshare service to get to the airport. However, Anna was never picked up by the rideshare service, and she never boarded any flight from Logan Airport to DC. Happy New Year messages to Anna from friends were never returned. Anna's mother, Milanka Lubicic, received a desperate text message from Anna on Christmas Day. Oops. Oh great. They always break. Anna just said, "Please mama, come tomorrow," which to her mom meant that clearly there must have been some problems at home. Anna was pleading for her mother to meet her in Washington DC, but her mom instead suggested she fly out the next day. Days later, around midnight on December 31st, Anna made a final attempt to reach loved ones in Serbia. She called her mom again at 1 a.m., but sadly her mom missed her call. Anna then called her older sister, who was also asleep, missing her call as well. She then tried to call her maid of honor, but she didn't hear the phone because of the loud music. Anna's mom feels really guilty for not answering her calls, and she feels that maybe if she would have, Anna wouldn't be missing now. It seems that Anna's relationship with Brian wasn't really the greatest. Before getting married, on 2nd of August 2014, Brian allegedly threatened to kill Anna, according to a police report filed by her with the Washington DC Metropolitan Police Department. An unnamed suspect made a statement over the telephone that he was going to kill Anna and her friend. While the report doesn't name Brian as the suspect, the police confirmed that he is the person associated with the complaint. The case was closed because Anna refused to cooperate with the investigation at the time. In 2022, Brian was also struggling with mental health problems. He was working on his mental health issues with Dr. Titman and the Boston Breakthrough Academy. Now, I don't know if this was to make him look better in court because of the probation and the pending trial, but it seems that according to his legal team, Brian led teams to raise over $10,000 for the 9/11 first responders, $22,000 for autism speakers, and over $50,000 for the Lakes region disabled sports. He also raised money for Mother's Day Walk for Peace, where he and his family also walked. Again, it's either that this Brian guy is very giving and very willing to help anyone and everyone, truly a very caring guy, or this was just a tactic used for his defense. And I tend to think that this is not because he's a very good guy, and we'll get there later on. I don't know what problems Anna and Brian had in their marriage, but according to Brian's mom, after he was arrested in May of 2018, she gave him $125,000 to help with the bills and to give whatever was left to his wife Anna so that she would have money available as needed to take care of the children. Anna Walshe, Brian's mom, was trying to provide for the family to keep the family intact at a stressful time in his son's marriage. Now, I don't know what she meant by stressful time. It could be because of his arrest, but she said, quote, "I wanted my son's wife to feel supported, so I gave my son money to pay bills and keep his wife happy." End of quote. After Brian paid some outstanding credit card debt and some other bills, he gave the rest of the money to Anna. In 2019, after Brian's dad passed away, he received $40,000 life insurance money from his father. He transferred this money as well to his wife's account. On 21st of December 2021, Milanka, Anna's mom, suffered from a brain aneurysm and she needed surgery and hospitalization for a month. Brian was the one who found her in their home and he thought that she was having a stroke, so he got Anna and then called the emergency services. When she was released from the hospital, she went to stay with Anna and Brian as she recovered. She says that Brian took care of her, he even made her diabetic meals, and drove her to doctor's appointments. Milanka really saw Brian as having saved her life. To her, he was a kind and caring man who always put her at ease, and she was very proud of him. Alexandra Dimitrievich, who is Anna's sister, said that she as well was very proud of Brian. She spent a few weeks in their home whilst their mom was recovering, and she saw Brian as being very compassionate. Knowing him for over a decade, he has grown a lot as a person, especially thanks to his leadership school and following his arrest. He told her that he's making positive changes, and Alexandra really believed that he changed. According to a statement that Anna prepared for court, she said, quote, "During my mother's illness and beyond, Brian continued to be in contribution and focus on charity work, serve as a coach within his transformational leadership academy, continue to take care of his ailing elderly mother, and be there for his sons day in and day out. Brian has included our family and especially our sons in many of the charitable activities he has been partaking, whether it was walking for World Peace Day in Dorchester or stopping by the Pine Street Inn in Boston to drop off food and sanitary supplies. Brian has been teaching our young boys from early age how important it is to share the joy and be in contribution with time and resources. Brian has been working consistently on breaking the past habits of his family, and we are all looking forward to the new chapter of his life." End of quote. Okay, so we get it. He seems like the perfect guy, right? Although there is some kind of indication that he wasn't exactly perfect and now he's working on breaking the past habits of his family. I honestly have no idea what that means, but I have a feeling he wasn't the perfect guy. All these things that I told you are coming from court documents, but to me, they seem like too good to be true. Brian Walshe had enjoyed many benefits in life. He comes from a wealthy family, he graduated from boarding school, and he had opportunities to attend excellent universities: Carnegie Mellon University, University of Massachusetts in Amherst, Northeastern University, and the JFK School of Government at Harvard University. However, he wasn't very good at sticking to any school, really. Brian wasn't like other young people. He was dressed in Armani and penny loafers when he was 13 years old. He wanted the finest things in life. But he seemed to have been a good kid growing up. He didn't smoke, he didn't drink, and he didn't do any drugs. But court records indicate that Brian had a troubled childhood and a long history of psychiatric care, even though he was born into a family with economic means. At one point, he was used as a pawn by his parents in their troubled marital relationship. He was severely attacked when he was 6 years old by Doberman dogs brought home by his father to spite his mother. He was put on a pedestal as the replacement for an uncle that passed away. He was emotionally abused from an early age. Because of his mother living a reclusive lifestyle and his father being deceased after, Brian had no one else inside or outside of the family to turn to for help. According to his former psychiatrist, this left Brian neglected, unloved, and emotionally damaged. According to someone who knows Brian, he stole $1 million from his father when he was alive, so they had a strained relationship. He was very caring and respectful to his father, and he was very charming as well. So when he stole his money, his father's money, he broke his father's heart. Because of this, Brian was cut out of his will before his death. Brian also had employment opportunities with his own consulting firm as a real estate agent and even as a representative of a Spanish wine company, but I'm not sure that he actually worked as any. He also has or had some businesses, and he was working with his partners on them. There's one called Capital Letters, which was later renamed Level 4 Coaching, and another one called Let's We Can. Also, the one that Anna mentioned in her statement called the Boston Breakthrough Academy. So I kind of have to be honest here. These businesses, I don't know, they just sound to me like they are scams. The Breakthrough Academy, for example, I did some research. The name is taken after another Breakthrough Academy, which is a proper school in Arizona, but Brian's Academy seems to be like a life coach type of thing, you know, attracting positivity, being successful in whatever you do, being a leader, and all in all, it feels to me like it's a very cold type of thing, similar to MLMs, these Ponzi schemes. Brian, it seems that he is a very liked individual. He can be very charming. He is also very likable, but he's very manipulative and he can talk his way through anything. But the thing is that most of the people who spoke positively of him were only some people that met him through the Breakthrough Academy, where he was a coach. His wife, his mother, and his wife's family as well. So, like I said, this guy sounds to me like, you know, he's too good to be true, and usually when something is too good to be true, it isn't true. Anna was officially reported missing on January the 4th after she failed to show up to her job. Both her husband and the employer reported her missing the same day. However, it was the employer that first reported her missing after asking for a welfare check, mentioning that she never turned up for work. Probably knowing that someone will notice, Brian on the same day starts calling friends asking about Anna, if they've heard anything from her, because he couldn't reach her. His behavior though was very strange. He seemed very casual in these conversations, as if nothing happened. He even told one of his friends that he might get a call from the police, but the friend advised him to contact the police himself. And the friend also said he will call the police himself and he's not going to wait for the police to call him. The friend, the same friend who spent the New Year's night with them, had his suspicions that there was foul play involved in Anna's disappearance, because Brian's story was just not adding up.
Good afternoon, it's Brian Walshe. I hope all is going well. I was just reaching out to basically everybody I could. Anna hasn't been in touch for a few days. Do you know anyone that might have had contact with her? Calling everyone. So sorry to bother you. Sure, everything's fine.
According to the probable cause affidavit, the same day on January the 4th, at around 6:35 p.m., the police arrived at 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, responding to the welfare check. Investigators interviewed Brian multiple times in relation to Anna's disappearance. Brian was asked to provide the timeline for the days of January the 1st and January the 2nd. According to him, on New Year's Eve, the family had dinner with a friend hosted by him and Anna at their place. The friend arrived at 8:30 p.m., at around 8:30 p.m. and left between 1 and 1:30 a.m. Brian and Anna went to bed shortly after their friend had gone. Brian told investigators that Anna told him she had a work emergency and had to fly back to DC in the morning. She got ready, kissed him goodbye, and asked him to go back to sleep. Anna would usually take an Uber, Lyft, or taxi to the airport. According to Brian, Anna left the house between 6 and 7 a.m. Brian woke up at 7 a.m. to get breakfast ready for the kids. In the afternoon, the babysitter arrived at the house and Brian left to run some errands around 3 p.m. He went to Shaw's to get some orange juice and milk and went back home. He left again at around 4 p.m. to see his mom, who lives at 330 Paradise Road, Swampscott. This would have been 1 hour and a half trip, one way, so all in all around 3 hours return trip. Brian said that he didn't take his phone with him at this time, which, if you ask me, is very strange. I mean, you go on these 3 hours round trip with your kids at home, with a babysitter, your wife in DC, and you don't take your phone with you in case of an emergency? I mean, I don't know. Does that really happen? Anyway, he said that 15 minutes after arriving at his mother's condo, he went to Whole Foods and CVS to get groceries and cleaning wipes for his mom. He went back to his mom's place and then arrived back home at 8 p.m. Brian told investigators that one of his boys must have taken his phone on New Year's Eve and throughout New Year's Day, but on 2nd of January he found the phone under one of his boys' pillows. On 2nd of January he took the oldest boy for ice cream whilst the babysitter was watching the other kids. The boy had a chocolate shake at Press in Norwell. On Friday, 6th of January, a massive search that included K9 officers, Metro LEC Search and Rescue, State Police SERT team members, which is basically the emergency response team, State Police investigators, Cohasset Police and other local police partners was underway for Anna Walshe. The police also drained the pool in the backyard of their house and searched the woods near the home. Later, on the same day, a fire broke out at a home on Jerusalem Road, a house formerly owned by Anna. The cause of the fire was determined to be accidental, with fire officials calling it a strange coincidence. The search resumed on January the 7th in the morning. In the afternoon, 6 investigators drove to the North Shore area of Massachusetts to check Brian's route and to also have a look at the places he said he's been, like Whole Foods and CVS. In the evening, multiple investigators were looking through footage and found something really suspicious. Brian had not been seen on the footage in the time frame that he mentioned. On January the 6th, Cohasset Police held a news conference asking for the public's help in locating Anna. At the time, they were investigating her disappearance as a missing persons case. They felt it wasn't normal that she was missing, and simply because of her vanishing so out of character for her, they believed she was in danger, and they were focusing on finding her, pleading for anyone to let them know that she is okay. On January the 8th, Brian was arrested after he was charged with misleading the police investigation during the search for Anna. The following day, he was arraigned in Quincy District Court, where he pleaded not guilty to the charge of misleading the police, and a judge ordered him held on a $500,000 bail. He is due back in court on February the 9th. During the hearing, prosecutors also accused him of visiting a Home Depot and buying $450 worth of cleaning products, including mops and tarps. After his arrest, having obtained a search warrant, police searched the home. On further investigation, investigators found search queries on Brian's internet records for how to dispose of a 115-pound woman's body and how to dismember a body. I actually have a more detailed list of his searches. Not only that, but he made his searches on one of his boys' iPad. So let's look at the searches. On December the 27th, 2022, he searched for the best state to divorce for a man. This was before Anna's disappearance, so that to me indicates that they were planning to divorce. His searches for January the 1st, after Anna went missing, tells a very different story. Remember that he said he last saw Anna between 4 and 5 a.m. when Anna told him to go back to sleep as she's going for the airport. He then woke up at 7 a.m. to make breakfast for the kids. Anna also tried to call her mom at 1 a.m. I believe that Anna called her mom in a desperate attempt to ask for help, because she called her mom, her sister, and also her maid of honor, and this to me really sounds like desperation of some kind, or perhaps her being scared for her life. Brian also searched for how long before a body starts to smell at 4:55 a.m., which means that Anna never left that house, which means that Anna probably died somewhere between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. At 4:55 a.m., Brian searched for how to keep a body from decomposing. 5:20 a.m., he searched for how to bind a body. At 5:47 a.m., he searched for 10 ways to dispose of a body if you really need to. At 6:25 a.m., how long for someone to be missing to inherit? That to me suggests that either Anna had a life insurance policy on her or money in her bank account, assets in her name, because Brian was really interested in getting his hands on whatever he was supposed to be inheriting.
Learning more about Anna Walshe's real estate portfolio as police investigate the missing Massachusetts mom's disappearance and murder. Walshe's husband is charged with her murder. Property records show she owned nearly $2 million worth of real estate. Her husband's name was not listed on any of those properties. Investigators are looking into that would-be inheritance as a possible motive.
The next search was at 6:34 a.m. He searched for, can you throw away body parts? At this time, he was supposed to still be sleeping because he said that at 7 he woke up to cook breakfast for the kids. At the same time, the babysitter arrived at the house. At 9:29 a.m. he searched for what does formaldehyde do. At 9:34 a.m. he searched for how long does DNA last. At 9:59 a.m. can identification be made on partial remains. At 11:34 a.m. he searched for dismemberment and the best way to dispose of a body. At 11:44 a.m. he searched for how to clean blood from a wooden floor. 11:56 a.m. luminol to detect blood. 1:08 p.m. what happens when you put body parts in ammonia. At 1:21 p.m. is it better to throw crime scene clothes away or wash them? And he carries on with the searches the next day. On January the 2nd, 2023 at 12:45 p.m. he searched for hacksaw, best tool to dismember. Then at 1:10 p.m. can you be charged with murder without a body? This one here I think is the most obvious, no-brainer really. He killed her in my opinion. At 1:14 p.m. he searched for, can you identify a body with broken teeth? According to phone data from New Year's Eve until 3:14 a.m. on January the 2nd, Anna's phone pinged in the area of their home, but there were no outgoing calls, and after that time, the phone was turned off. On January the 3rd, 2023, Brian carried on with his internet searches. At 1:02 p.m., he searched for what happens to hair on a dead body. At 1:13 p.m., he searched for what is the rate of decomposition of a body found in a plastic bag compared to on a surface in the woods. At 1:20 p.m. can baking soda make a body smell good? So I guess that by 3rd of January Anna's body would have started decomposition, therefore smell. On January the 4th is the day that Anna is reported missing. Brian essentially had 3 days to plan this out. When the police responded to the welfare check, officers saw Brian's Volvo with the seats down and the plastic lineup on the back of the car. The next day, when they returned in the Volvo, they noticed something that appeared to be dirt, and the carpet had fresh vacuum marks on. The plastic lineup was gone, and when Brian was asked what happened to the lineup, he said that he just threw it away. After further testing, blood was found in the car. As a result of everything that investigators discovered, they turned their focus from a missing persons case to suspicion that Anna may have been killed. On January the 10th, investigators discovered a series of cutting instruments during their search for Anna. They found a damaged bloody knife in the basement of their home along with blood and a second knife as well. The investigation on January the 9th led authorities to a trash site in Peabody, Massachusetts, where they recovered a hatchet, hacksaw, rug, and a garbage bag with blood believed to be connected to Anna's disappearance. These were found after police checked Brian's phone's movements, which led them in various locations with apartments where, at each location, he disposed of something in the bins. One of the locations was his mother's condominium dumpster, where he was seen discarding of 10 trash bags, if I'm not mistaken. Following these leads, the police managed to get hold of these bags, and they were checking them at a trash site in Peabody. The other locations where Brian disposed of other bags sadly were not recovered because the rubbish had been incinerated. Among other things found by police in these bags were boots similar to the ones that Anna was described as wearing when she was last seen. A portion of a necklace was also found consistent with one Anna was seen wearing in photos. A pair of slippers were also found, as well as a suit. Lab results showed there was human blood found on them, and they were sent for DNA testing. On the slippers with the blood on in the interior, Anna's and Brian's DNA was found, as well as on the exterior. On the suit, Anna's and Brian's DNA was found on the exterior of the suit, and on one side, Anna's DNA was found, as well as on the inside of one of the sleeves. WFXT TV reported that human tissue was also discovered during the search. The Norfolk District Attorney's Office confirmed the collection of items of potential evidence.
Later, I-Team sources say investigators searching through trash taken to a transfer facility in Peabody from a dumpster at Walshe's mother's Swampscott condominium find garbage bags with a hatchet, a hacksaw, used cleaning equipment, and blood.
In an interview with WRC-TV published on January the 10th, Mike and Mandy Silva, who were friends of Anna's, said that Anna was in a rush to get rid of several assets before she disappeared. She sold her car and the Reverie apartment they rented from her for the past 4 years. The buyer paid in cash just days before Anna went missing. Anna seemed really differently recently, and within the last 6 months, things started to get really strange between them and the couple. Anna was selling all of her assets in the Boston area, and she seemed to be in a rush to just, sell everything. Even the apartment that Anna promised Mike and Mandy that she will sell to them. Mike had worked construction on Anna and Brian's many Massachusetts properties. It seemed very strange to them because apparently Anna and Brian never really stayed in one place longer than a year, and Mike thinks that maybe they were running from something or maybe hiding from something. Already under house arrest and pending sentencing for selling fake Andy Warhol paintings in 2018, we'll touch on that in a minute, Brian pleaded not guilty to misleading police. Brian Walshe, at the time of Anna's disappearance, was an investor and a stay-at-home dad. On January 13, 2023, Anna's and Brian's children were taken into state custody. Although the children were initially placed with Brian's mom, the state of Massachusetts removed them during the investigation. A friend of Anna's, Pamela Bardi, told People, quote, "Today was supposed to be the day that they get placed in foster care and potentially separated. These are 3 boys under 6 who you don't know what they've seen, heard, experienced within the last 2 weeks. The trauma to potentially think about separation? Absolutely not. Do not just place them in a random foster care situation when there are people, Anna's close friends, that want to take them in." End of quote. Brian's lawyer, Tracy Minor, initially told the court that Anna's employer, Tishman Speyer, filed a missing persons report as a result of Brian reaching out to ask about his wife's whereabouts. However, police logs showed that the head of security at the Washington, D.C.-based real estate firm allegedly said Tishman Speyer contacted Brian first about Anna's disappearance, but he didn't file a missing persons report. The head of security then called police requesting a wellness check on Anna on January the 4th, the day that she was reported missing. On January the 7th, 2023, Brian Walshe was charged with murder. He hasn't been arraigned yet for the murder charge. Brian had already been charged with misleading police, to which he pleaded not guilty, and had the bail set at $450,000. I think it's clear right now what most likely happened, especially considering the potential evidence that was found by the police at the dumping site, Brian's internet searches as well, the fact that he was the last person to see Anna, saying that she was called for a work emergency, she was heading to the airport, using a ride service. It kind of sounds to me like he's covering himself with these stories, because Anna never got to the airport. She already had a flight booked for the 3rd of January. What kind of work emergency would you have on New Year's Day at a real estate company? The fact that she was selling all of her assets, him threatening her a couple of years prior, her trying desperately to reach her mom and family in Serbia on New Year's, it kind of sounds to me like something happened after that New Year's party. Kind of feels like Anna was getting ready to leave him, maybe move with the keys to Washington. I don't know, but it's kind of obvious. The hacksaw, the rug, the cutting instruments found at the dumping site, also Brian's internet searches and Brian's purchase of cleaning products and tarps. If you add all of these together, he most likely killed, dismembered her body and dumped the remains somewhere. He then tried to come up with an alibi that, she left for a work emergency. It's very interesting, and I really wonder how much did Anna's mom know about their relationship and their potential problems in the relationship, because to her mom, it was obvious that there were problems in the household, right, when Anna was calling and asking her to go back to DC. But then a few years earlier, Anna's mom, and in fact all of Anna's family, spoke really highly of Brian. Also, I wonder, was the couple involved in some kind of a fraud scheme? It kind of makes me wonder, because Anna's friends said that the couple didn't really stay longer than 1 year in one place, and usually when you have family and you have kids, you kind of need that stability, not constantly to be moving around. Something is weird here as well. And you will get what I mean in a minute, because I started digging into this paintings situation, Brian's arrest affidavit from this year, and even more. So Brian Walshe was convicted in federal court of felony fraud by wire, and at the time of Anna's disappearance he was on pre-sentencing probation, basically, you know, house arrest. The probation conditions included monitoring and home confinement. He has to make a request each time that he leaves the house and specify the time, the place, and the reason for leaving. On the week beginning Sunday, January the 1st, 2023, Brian requested leave and was granted for dropping his children off to school each day between 8 and 10:30 a.m. and picking up the kids from 3:15 to 6:45 p.m. Among other approved leave times was 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. for shopping on Wednesday, 4th of January, the day that Anna was reported missing. On Sunday, January the 1st, he requested travel between 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. to drop off his mother. He told investigators that his mother had recent cataract surgery and she was staying with him at his house whilst recovering. He said he had this time scheduled so that he could bring her home after her recovery. However, he said that his mother recovered much quicker than expected, and instead she drove herself home. So he used the time that he requested to visit her at her place and run some errands for her. I mean, this is what he said. Apparently, the errands, according to him, were trips to Whole Foods and CVS. However, investigators went through hours of CCTV footage and they said that Brian never went to these shops. Now, this is important because this is the day that Anna went missing. According to Brian, on Monday, 2nd of January, he took his oldest child for ice cream or a smoothie at Press Juice Bar in Norwell. This was during the morning hours that he was given for school drop-off between 8 and 10:30 a.m. But due to the holidays, there was no school on that day. Investigators later discovered video evidence of Brian at a Home Depot in Rockland, wearing a black surgical mask, blue surgical gloves, and making a cash purchase. This trip was made in violation of his probation conditions. The data from Brian's phone shows that the device traveled to the areas of Brockton and Abington on the week beginning 1st of January. These towns were not approved as part of his leave. When Brian was questioned, he misled investigators, and because of this they were led out of the area, which of course caused a delay in the search for Anna. Brian knew that investigators will need to corroborate the statements that he gave and follow up and check on everything he told them. I really think, my honest opinion, that Brian killed and disposed of Anna because she was planning to leave him and move with the kids, possibly in Washington DC, but I don't think that's the only reason. I also think he did it because of money as well. I mean, Anna was selling off her assets. She got loads of money 3 days before she went missing, after she sold the apartment in Bellevue to a cash buyer very suddenly. And also the couple were kind of moving to another place every year, either running from something or hiding illegal activities. Anna's bank account showed a lot of high value transactions from Brian's account. I'm talking here in the hundreds of thousands, so there is another motive there. If she would have divorced him or left him, he would have lost the kids and the money, right? Allegedly, possibly. So, you know, let's look at the fraud charge here for a second. Brian was on home confinement because of a federal conviction for fraud, following a scheme where he stole and sold real and fake Andy Warhol paintings. According to court documents, in 2016 he stole a number of Warhols and other precious pieces of art from a friend in South Korea, falsely offering to sell them for him. Once he returned to the US, he stopped answering his friends' attempts to reach him. Brian then tried to sell the Warhol's paintings to a gallery that refused them because he didn't produce a bill of sale. Eventually, he sold one on eBay for $80,000, but when the buyer, a California art gallery owner, received the painting, he knew straight away the painting was fake. Brian had sent pictures of the real stolen paintings, but he sent a fake copy to the buyer. That buyer was Ron Rivlin, the owner of Revolver Gallery in California, the largest Andy Warhol gallery worldwide. In dealing with Brian at first, Ron said that Brian appeared charismatic, articulate and professional, and after he delivered the paintings, the fake paintings, he was unreachable until Ron involved his wife Anna and the FBI. Brian would only cooperate if he was forced to do it. Quote, "He's very tactful in how he plays the legal system," Ron said. "It's been over 6 years and he's avoided sentencing this long." And honestly, end of quote, and honestly, that's very true, because a series of payment delays as well as other issues delayed his sentencing by a year and a half. Brian pleaded guilty as part of a plea deal in 2021. The deal involved no jail time, but as part of the deal, he had to either return the stolen paintings or pay restitution for them. So far, he hasn't done either one of those things. On top of that, Brian is accused of destroying his father's will that disinherited him when he died in 2018 and collecting tens of thousands of dollars from his father's estate, which were not meant for him. This was the latest delay in his sentencing and payment to the 3 victims in the art scam case. Ron Rivlin said that Brian is a really calculated guy. Ron had bought over 1,000 Warhols, and this was the one and only acquisition that got by him. Brian was that good. What happened to Ron is proof of Brian's ability to coerce people. Ron had spoken with Anna on the phone when he was trying to get his money back from Brian, and he said that she was kind and she seemed unaware of Brian's illegal stuff. He said, quote, "It's incredibly sad to learn that Anna is missing. As a parent of young children, I'm having a hard time processing this and hope that she's found and reunited with her family." End of quote. Ron said he doesn't care anymore about getting his money back. He just wants justice served in the criminal case that has gone on for more than 6 years. Brian has also been at the center of an ongoing dispute over his father's will after family and friends accused him of destroying the document and taking over his father's estate. A friend of Thomas Walshe, Brian's father, told CBS Boston that Brian has a history of manipulative behavior. Brian was not trustworthy and he did some things which were shameful and horrible to someone he really cared about. Brian's cousin Andrew Walshe said in a court affidavit, quote, "Brian R. Walshe had absconded with almost $1 million from Dr. Thomas Walshe in prior years." End of quote.
As investigators are now in the process of testing items that could be connected to the disappearance of Anna Walshe, a clearer picture is emerging of her husband Brian and his troubled financial past. Court documents show he was involved in a bitter legal battle over his father Thomas Walshe's estate. Friends as well as Walshe's nephew alleging in signed affidavits the elder Walshe and his son had been estranged for years after Brian Walshe absconded with almost $1 million from Dr. Thomas Walshe. Court records also say because of the alleged theft, it required Dr. Thomas Walshe to continue working past the age at which he had wished to retire, as a significant amount of his savings were stolen and never returned. And that's part of the reason why these court documents say Walshe's father cut his only son out of his will in the years before his death in 2018. Despite that, Walshe took steps to take control of his father's estate while saying in a sworn affidavit he and his father had been estranged several times over the years, but says they mended their relationship. Ultimately, Walshe's legal efforts were unsuccessful. A judge ruled against him. But those same documents revealed more information about Walshe's past, including that at some point he had checked himself into a mental health facility. His father's friends calling him a sociopath, and court documents dated in 2019 saying Brian is not only a sociopath, but also a very angry and physically violent person. I want nothing to do with him. These allegations surfaced years before Walshe pleaded guilty to federal charges of selling fake Andy Warhol paintings, the victim of the fake sales saying Walshe was very convincing.
He was very calculated, almost genius about how he went about things.
That troubled past only increasing the scrutiny around the disappearance of his wife. A bloody knife found inside the family home, law enforcement sources telling CNN a hacksaw, and cloth materials with apparent bloodstains found at a nearby trash facility. The couple's friends say nothing seemed out of the ordinary during a New Year's Eve celebration, but now coming to terms with what could be the outcome they had feared.
I keep praying that in all these trash facilities, that facility, that she's not found there, and really so that, you know, we do have somewhere to go to honor her, and for her children to have somewhere to go to honor her.
If someone did do something to Anna Walshe, in Massachusetts, the law does not necessarily require prosecutors to show a motive for a crime.
Prosecutors like to be able to show a motive. Again, I think it makes more sense to people if there is a motive, but as a matter of law, it's not required to prove a motive in most cases.
WBZ exclusive. Just minutes ago, WBZ's Julie McDonald spoke with a man who celebrated New Year's Eve with the Walshes. He was one of the last people to see Anna Walshe before she disappeared. Julie joins us live in Boston now. Julie, what is this friend telling you tonight?
Well, Lisa, I've spoken with so many of Anna's friends since we first learned of her disappearance from police late last week. These are families along the South Shore, friends of hers in D.C., even former employees here in Boston in the hotel industry. It's been a roller coaster, emotional week for these people, desperate for information and really holding on to hope that she would return home safely this morning. Devastating news, those chilling details presented in court, and they all learned at the same time that we did. But late this afternoon, just now, I sat down to exclusively speak with one of Anna Walshe's very best friends. Now, Jem Mutlu is her former boss before she took this job in Washington, D.C., but he's so much more than that. This is a friend who was at the Walshe home on Saturday night and one of the very last people to see this Cohasset mother before she went missing. He's been in very frequent communication with investigators, meeting with state police, calling them multiple times since to provide any possible details that he can to help them as they search for his friend. But he described for me how everything seemed as it always was Saturday night, celebrating the new year together.
Brian had cooked an elaborate meal for us, and we hugged and celebrated and toasted and just what you do over New Year's, and there was a lot of looking forward to the new year. Like there was no indication of anything other than celebrating the new year, like problems on hold, whatever life's problems were, and life always gives us matters and problems and things to deal with, right? That just always is. But the fact that they hadn't, they had been living in separate homes. She was commuting back and forth. She wasn't seeing the children as often as she would have liked. I mean, she loved everybody. She definitely loved her children dearly. And so it was festive. She was texting with friends, and, she was sitting next to me at the bar stool and at their kitchen. There was absolutely no indication that any modicum of a tragedy of disappearance or anything else could have happened that night.
Now, this dear family friend, Jem, he actually met Anna years ago through Brian. He was first friends and colleagues with Brian through a leadership course years ago, then met Anna and has closely befriended this couple over the years. Even that being said, his closeness and his love for this family, he admits that there were times during this week that he began to feel that this timeline didn't add up, and he sadly suspected foul play.
Brian and his family have led a lavish lifestyle, most of the times one that he couldn't afford. He would go to expensive dinners with friends and then ask them to pay for the dinners. Brian and Anna were also seen shopping at Prada, so either he lived by this made-up image of luxury and wealth and hid it from everybody, or he got some kind of help from his family to avoid detection for all the scams. So I think I'm not trying to point fingers here at anybody, but I do think that by this point is obvious what happened to Anna, allegedly. It's possible that she wasn't aware of his scams, or maybe she was of something aware but didn't exactly learn the full extent of it. Maybe she was helping him without even knowing that she is. If he was so charming and manipulative, it's possible that he manipulated her and even his own mother, and they genuinely believe that he's making tons of money. I really don't know, and like I said, I don't want to point fingers at anyone else apart from himself. But by all the searches that he made, it sounds like he killed Anna and disposed of her. And it's possible this was planned rather than a decision taken in the moment. On December 27th, a few days before Anna disappeared, he did search for how to get a divorce as a man. So my guess is that Anna finally decided to divorce him. She possibly planned to move permanently to Washington with the kids, and he wouldn't have any of that, and he decided by killing her, he gets to keep the kids, the house, and her assets. Plus, if she had a life insurance, he would get that as well, right? I am just really glad that he didn't turn his attention to the kids as well, in terms of, you know, doing something to them. And as much as I want to stay positive that Anna will be found alive and well, everything points, sadly, to quite the opposite. On 18th of January, Brian is being arraigned and he pled not guilty to the charges of murder and improper transport of remains. He is held at the moment without bail. I mean, there is plenty of circumstantial evidence and he can get, I think, a conviction without a body. I mean, you know, the plethora of evidence that they already have, maybe even more than we know. In fact, I'm sure it's, you know, they have more than we even know, kind of suggests the obvious. And I don't think that a jury would have, you know, I don't think that a jury would really be struggling to reach a decision that indeed he did kill Anna. For now, thank you so much for watching and thank you for staying with me. If you are interested in any of the makeup that I use for today's look, everything is linked in the description under the video. I also do take case suggestions, so if there is any case in particular that you want me to cover, just leave any details you have in the comments under the video. For now, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!